Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah. Thanks for joining me today for this 25-minute full body Pilates workout. I'll see you on the mat in just a moment. All right, we're going to start seated for this one. Just make sure that you're positioned more toward the end of your mat and that you've got some space behind you. Before we start, I just want to acknowledge the fact that seated is not everyone's favourite position. Okay, it can feel a little bit tight around the hips for some people. So if that's you, just try and sit on a cushion or a Pilates block and elevate the pelvis. That should make you feel a bit more comfortable. Now, with that said, let's try and get ourselves set up. So we're going to have the legs in a crook position, which is knees and feet about hip width apart. You're going to try and sit on your sit bones, so those little bony parts underneath each of your glutes, and then we're going to try and find a nice neutral posture. So place your hands behind your knees, relax your shoulders, and you're going to very gently lift the ribs. So think about just lifting the rib cage up or your breastbone up. Take the shoulders back and down, and that should lengthen your spine and pop your shoulders in a good position as well. So this is a neutral posture where the shoulder blades are more or less flush with your back. Chin is now level with the floor and the crown of the head is facing the ceiling. Okay, if this is still uncomfy around the hips, just move your feet forward slightly. Okay, the closer your heels are to your body, the harder it is to sit tall. You end up sort of flexing the spine. So do try and make sure you're seated as tall as can be. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of flexion and extension of the spine just to warm up the vertebrae. So we'll start with our arms out in front, but do make sure you keep the shoulders back and down. All right, now let's take a nice deep breath in through the nose first. And then when you exhale through your mouth, you're going to draw your navel in. Okay, so we've got part of our core engaged. Now we're going to make a little C curve with the spine. So the next time you exhale, just come off your sit bones by gently tipping the pelvis backward. Okay, so just tucking the tailbone under. And then you're going to try and keep your shoulders above the hips as you lower the front of your ribs towards the hips. And then just look at the floor. So there's your C curve. And then to come up back to neutral, we're going to reach our arms up, breathe in, see if you can get yourself back on your sit bones, and now we've extended the spine. Now we're going to do our C curve again, but this time starting with the arms up. So nice deep breath and exhale, tummy button in, and then you're coming off your sit bones, rounding the spine nice and slowly, arms parallel with the floor and looking down. Now breathe in again to reach up. Lovely. Okay, now we're going to do one more C curve. So let's take that lovely big deep breath first. And then exhale. C curve here. And now you're going to take your shoulders backwards, roll all the way down into supine for a full body stretch. So arms overhead, lengthen out the legs. You can point your toes and wiggle the fingers and the toes. And now give your ankles a little flex, stretch out the calves. And now you can place your arms by your sides, palms down, pop your feet on the floor. So we've got the legs back in a crook position again, knees and feet hip width apart. Okay, just relax your shoulders and your pelvis. Make sure you've got your shoulder blades flush with your back, so the back of your upper arms are touching the ground. And we're going to just do a little bit of work with hips and knees. Now, before we do anything, let's engage the core. So take a nice deep breath in through the nose. And now when we exhale through the mouth, you're going to draw your navel in. Good, now hold it there. Let's take the right leg now. You're going to lengthen that up toward the sky. So we're pointing the toes, trying to get the leg as vertical as we can, but we've got to try and keep the back of the pelvis on the floor. Sometimes when you raise your leg like this, it makes you tip your pelvis backwards, so you lift your tailbone. So if that's you, just gently press the pelvis down and try and keep the leg up, and you'll feel a bit of an extra stretch down the back of the leg, but also the muscles around the front of the thigh and toward the hip will have tightened a little bit. Okay, now you're going to pop your feet back down, or your foot back down on the floor, and we're going to do the same with the left leg. So raise it up, toes pointed, pelvis nice and still, and then bend the knee, place your foot down. Let's just do a few more of those. We're going to exhale, inhale. So just exhale every time you raise the leg nice and slowly. Inhale as you pop your foot back down. But all the while, keeping the pelvis completely still, keeping the navel drawn in. Brilliant. And don't worry if you can't get your leg vertical. It's more important to keep the pelvis completely still and in place. so that you're stretching out the correct muscles and you're strengthening out the right muscles as well, or strengthening the right muscles. Okay, now let's pop the feet back down again. We're going to do a very similar exercise, but it's going to be more intense for the hips. Same rules apply. Let's keep the navel drawn in and the pelvis completely still. You're going to take your right leg and just lengthen it out across the floor, point the toes. Your left foot can stay down on the floor. Okay, now let's take a nice deep breath. And then when you exhale, just raise the right leg up. So same position, but you're going to keep it lengthened and lower it back down again. So we're going to exhale, inhale really slowly. Nice smooth movement. So this is not a kick. It's definitely a slow motion raise of the leg. When you lower the leg down, try not to fully relax it on the floor. Okay, you're just going as close as you can without fully relaxing the leg. Now we're going to keep the leg raised here. You should be feeling a little bit heavy around the hip. Remember, keep the back of the pelvis pressed down. Just widen out your arms away from your body slightly, palms down, and again, back of your arms in contact with the floor. Now take a nice deep breath. Exhale to take the leg out to the side, around and down, and then draw a line back up to the start position. So you've done like a capital D. So shh, and breathe. Go slowly in the same direction. Feel that around the shoulder and the back of your arm as well. Lovely. If you find that your pelvis is wobbling a little bit, make those C curves, those C shapes a bit smaller. We're going to be changing direction anyway. So on this next one, just keep the leg raised up vertically. Obviously, if you do need to rest, it's completely fine to just bend the knee because you do feel that around the hip. But let's keep the back of the pelvis down. Now this time, we're going to draw the line down. Now out, round and up. Okay, so exhale right here. Inhale as you draw the line down. So we always try and exhale on the hardest part of any movement or any exercise, which is definitely here as you're taking the leg out and round. Really notice how your core muscles are helping you to keep your pelvis nice and still as well. Okay, last one. We'll keep the leg vertical just for a moment, but then you're going to take your ankle and place it over the left knee. So just relax this right leg now. It should feel nice around the hip. Okay, arms can stay where they are, palms down, back of your arms are gently pressing the floor. So we've got a good anchorage. We're rooted, or well rooted into the floor. And what we're going to do now is roll up into the bridge. So take a breath in. Exhale to tuck your tailbone gently under, raise the back of the pelvis and roll up through the spine toward the shoulders. So you're trying to straighten out the spine and find neutral at the back of the pelvis is level with the floor. Good. Now very gently lower and lift the pelvis. So we're going to inhale here to exhale here. Okay, trying to keep the spine in neutral so there's no unpeeling and relaying the spine. We're just basically lowering and lifting the pelvis. Okay, really working the back of the left leg and into the glutes. Last two. We're going to hold this one up here and gently press through the heel, pulsing it out. Pulse, pulse, pulse. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now gently roll down. Keep your ankle over your knee and lift the left heel so you've got your tiptoes down. Okay, next exercise. Let's take a deep breath. Exhale to draw the navel in. Okay, next time you exhale, you're going to bring the left knee towards you so your toes come off the floor. Inhale to tap down. And breathe. All right, so again, keeping the pelvis still. So when you tap your toes down, don't let the pelvis tip forward. You can even press the lower back toward the floor. So that's called imprinting, a little technique we use in Pilates. You can feel a stretch around the right hip and you feel a bit of strengthening around the left hip at the front, getting into your hip flexors. All right, last couple. Definitely some core activation there as well. All right, and we're going to leave that one there. Pop your foot down on the floor. You might just want to give your left knee a little hug. Just circle it around the hip joint. And then we're going to do it all again, but on this leg. Okay, so when you're ready, let's get ourselves comfy on the mat again. Arms by your side, palms down, shoulders back and down. Okay, and relax your hips. Take a deep breath in when you're ready. Now exhale to engage your core again. So navel in. Remember, we're holding that in place, and we're going to take the left leg and lengthen it out. Point the toes, keeping the right foot on the floor. Okay, deep breath, and then exhale to raise the left leg up. Inhale to lower. Nice and steady and precise. So remember, when you take your leg down toward the floor, we're not fully relaxing it down. We're going as close as we can. So we're keeping our muscles under tension. But really feeling that around the left hip there at the front, working those abdominal muscles. Okay, last couple. And then on this one, we're going to hold it vertical. So remember, keep the back of the pelvis pressed toward the floor. Just take your arms a little bit further away from you now, palms down. All right, let's take a deep breath. And then exhale to take the leg out to the side, round and down. Draw a line back up again on the in-breath. And breathe. So again, keeping the pelvis completely still, using the strength of the shoulders. So particularly, you'll feel it around the left arm and shoulder as you take your leg out to the side. And then we'll make this next one the last one. So when you bring your leg back to vertical, just hold it there. Make sure you're keeping the back of the pelvis down on the floor. And then we're going to go the other way. Okay, so deep breath in to come down. And then exhale, round and up. So it's much more challenging to take the leg out to the side and round and up. And that's why we need to exhale right there. Again, using that left arm and shoulder to help us balance. Definitely feeling that those core muscles are working. Okay, last one. Whew. And then we're going to place the ankle over the right knee. Okay, so just relax your leg. Excellent. We're going to go back up into our shoulder bridge. So let's take a nice breath and exhale to tuck the tailbone under, raise the hips and roll up vertebra by vertebra toward the shoulders, but find neutral. So a nice straight spine here, nice and neutral. And then we're going to stay on this right leg as we very gently lower and lift the pelvis. So keeping the back of the pelvis level with the floor. Again, using our scapular strength and stability. Good. And definitely working the back of the right leg into the glutes. We've got 4, 3, 2, and we're going to hold this last one very gently, pulsing through the heel. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now we roll down from the bridge, but keep the ankle over the knee. Let's lift the right heel so you've still got your toes down. Keeping the navel drawn in, you're then going to bring this right knee towards you and then tap the toes down. So we've got the stretch for the left hip and into the glutes. At the same time, we're strengthening the hip flexors, feeling those core muscles activating as well. Exhale to bring the knee towards you. Inhale to tap the toes down. But we're just going to go for a couple more now. So, and then our last one. Well done. Let's come all the way down. Relax your abdominals and breathe. If you want to give your knees a squeeze, you can as well. Draw them towards you. Circle them round. Let's massage the lower back. So just go a couple of times in both directions with the knees. And then we're going to come to seated. Okay, so let's bring the knees towards you and just rock up. So that's part of the rolling like a ball exercise. And now you're just going to come onto one side facing this direction. Now we're going to come onto our elbow, do an exercise called hip dips. Now hip dips can look a little bit scary, but there's obviously strength involved, but a little bit of technique as well. Essentially, it's a side plank, but we're going to do it with the knees bent. So knees and feet together, just bring the heels towards your tailbone. Now we'll just take our top arm, reach it up. So if you're mirroring me, this will be your left arm, you'll be on your right arm now. And you want to make sure you're nice and strong around this shoulder. So don't fall into the shoulder, don't collapse down. To sort of get away from this, push down gently with your elbow, try and have your head in line with your spine as well. And your chest should be facing dead ahead. We just need to straighten out the spine. So if you're doing this, just send your top hip away from you. So you're straightening yourself out, but check that your elbow is still right underneath the shoulder. It's not here. Okay, so hip dips. What we're going to do is try and lift the pelvis. And to do it, you're going to think more about lifting the rib cage up and pushing your elbow down. We're going to do that on an out breath. So let's take a deep breath. Exhale, press and lift. Inhale, lower, nice and slow. So you can see that this lifts the pelvis as you are lifting the ribs and supporting yourself on this shoulder. Lots of scapular strengthening, but you'll feel a squeeze around your obliques, so the muscles on the side of your body closest to the mat. Okay, let's just do another 2 and we'll hold this last one. Okay, so hold your plank basically, but breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth for 5, 4, 3, 2, and slowly down on this one. And we're going to then come down nice and flat on the bottom arm. So you can lengthen it out, relax your head on it, and the top hand is in front of the chest, fingers facing up. Let's keep the hips stacked. So just gently roll the top hip away from you. So the top hip is directly above the bottom one, and we're drawing the navel in. So we've got a nice straight neutral spine. And now you're going to lengthen out the legs. Point the toes. So legs are in line with the body. I'm going to do toe slides. So let's take the top foot. You're going to basically slide the toes along the inside of the bottom leg. Raise your leg up, flex the ankle, and bring the leg back down. So point and slide, then lift, flex and lower. Nice and steady. Exhale right here. Inhale here. Now when you raise the top leg up, press the bottom one very gently down to help anchor you into the floor. When you slide the toes along the leg, make sure your knee is facing the ceiling, so you're really opening out the hip joint. Good stuff. Nice smooth movement. Feeling a bit of a stretch around the inner thigh and toward the back of the leg. Lovely. Last one. Perfect. And then we'll relax it down. We're going to take ourselves back onto our backs, so back into supine. We'll have the legs in crook again, so knees and feet hip width apart, feet fully on the floor, arms by your sides, palms facing down, and just relax your shoulders and your pelvis again. Okay, a little bit more work for hips, so hip flexors, but also abdominal muscles. So when you're ready, just take a deep breath and then exhale to draw your navel in. Okay, you're going to hold that there, but also imprint the lower back. So that's just gently pressing the lower back toward the floor. You can feel your abs have tightened a little bit more. Shoulders back and down. You're going to then raise your right leg into tabletop. So that's knees above hips, shins level with the floor. Okay, and then you're going to keep the leg where it is as you do the same with your left leg. Okay, so now really feel how those abdominal muscles have tightened even more because your pelvis is trying to tip forward. So don't let it. Press the lower back down. Use your imprinting technique. Now you're going to go back to the right leg. Pop your foot down and then the left. We're going to do it again, but we're going to go the other way. Left, right, left, right. Keep it going. Nice and steady. And we're trying to exhale every time you raise a leg. Shoo, 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 shoo. Okay, lots of precision. Really thinking about the position of the pelvis and just very gently working your hip flexors, firing up the abs. Okay, don't worry if you mess the pattern up. I'm not quite sure if I've managed to maintain that, but it's all about holding the legs in the right position and using your core muscles to stabilize the pelvis. All right, we're going to just make this round the last round. Okay, quick relax. Let's have a few deep breaths in and out. You can relax your abdominals. We're going to do the same thing again, but this time with the head and shoulders lifted. Okay, so when we do that, just raise your arms so they're floating by your side, palms facing down, and then slowly lift your head and shoulders. Okay, so you're trying to look between your knees, not at the ceiling. If you do that, it's going to put pressure on your neck flexors. So do make sure you're looking forward. You might need to send the fingertips forward a little more to be able to lift the shoulders, but keep them back and down so the top of them are away from your ears. Okay, keep that navel drawn in, and then you're going to start again with the right leg, back into tabletop, then the left, right, left, and then left, right, left, and right. Holding the body completely, so holding the head and shoulders completely still. Shoo, 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 shoo. Good. So really firing up those abs. lots of focus and control, lots of concentration. We're just going to do a couple more rounds, okay? Almost there. All right, last one. Perfect. You can fully come down now. We'll give the knees another hug, give them a squeeze. We'll circle them round. Big, deep, normal breaths. Okay, and then what we're going to do is roll back up to seated again using the rolling like a ball technique. So rock yourself up, and then wherever your feet land, you're just going to take them to the other end of your mat, face this way, and we're coming onto our elbow. So those hip dips, knees bent. So make sure your knees are not here, by the way. They don't want to be in line with the body. Bring them forward slightly. It's your heels you want quite close to your bottom, quite close to your tailbone. And then you're nice and strong on the shoulder. So remember, we don't want to collapse down. We're pushing gently into the floor with the elbow. Let's raise the right arm up, chest facing forward. Make sure you straighten out the spine so you're not flopping toward the floor. Of course, we've got the all-important core engaged. Okay, let's take a nice breath in. And then exhale to raise the ribs. Press down with the elbow to lift the pelvis. Inhale slowly down. So shoo. And breathe really slow, especially on the way down. Obviously, if this is uncomfy around the shoulder, then you mustn't do it. But lots of strengthening for the scapular region. Good. Let's go for another couple. And hold it right here. So you're holding your half plank, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly down. Let's lengthen the bottom arm, relax your head, top hand in front of the chest and fingers facing up. Okay, let's lengthen out the legs as well. So in line with the body, point the toes. Make sure you keep your hips stacked so you're not dropping your waist toward the floor. We've got the navel drawn in and we're going for our toe slides. So nice deep breath. Exhale to slide the toes along the inside of the bottom leg. Raise the leg up vertically, flex the ankle, and bring the leg back down again, nice and slow. So remember to just gently press the bottom leg down as you raise the top leg up to help to anchor you and help you balance. And your knee should be facing the sky as you slide your toes along. Okay, so raising the leg as high as you can, as vertical as you can, is going to give you that really lovely stretch around the inner thigh toward the back of the leg. Good. Last couple. Excellent. And then our last one. Perfect. Okay, we're coming down. If you just roll onto your tummy. So we're coming into prone position, but I'm actually going to bring you into all fours. So place your hands under your shoulders, slowly come up into an all fours position, and then you can sink back onto your heels, stretch your arms out in front and lower your head to enjoy a little bit of a shell stretch. Good. Okay. Now we're going to come to the middle of the mat in an all fours neutral position. Okay, so hands beneath the shoulders, knees under hips, shoulders back and down, and we're straightening out the spine. Now this next exercise is going to be shell stretch to half cobra. Now half cobras always look a bit scary. If you have any issues with your back or if this feels uncomfortable at all, please don't do it. You can do sort of half the movement. But what we're going to do is start here and we're going to come to an all fours position. Okay, I'm going to talk you through it nice and steady. So the secret, or the key rather, to doing the cobra nice and safely is to keep your tailbone tucked under. So so if you want to do that now, just exhale to draw your tummy button in and tuck your tailbone under. Just walk your hands forward slightly. Okay, so they're not under the shoulders anymore. You're just walking them another hand distance away. Okay, now with the tailbone tucked under like this, cross your ankles. Stay nice and strong across the shoulders and the arms. Start to lower the pelvis toward the floor. Keep the navel drawn in and press into the ground, open up the chest and look forward. Okay, so that's your half cobra. And then you're going to lift your tailbone, uncross the ankles and sit back in shell. Okay, now the next time we do it, we're going to come from shell stretch and go all the way into the half cobra. So breathe in first. And then exhale to tuck your tailbone under, draw the navel in. So you're already there with the pelvic position, crossing the ankles, lower the pelvis and press into the floor. So what I don't want you to do here is bend your elbows, push in nice and strong into the ground. and then slowly sink back. As I say, if this isn't for you, you don't need to do it. You could just go into like partial cobra if you like, just don't dip the pelvis. Now we're going to go one more time. Let's take that breath in. Exhale to come up, tucking the tailbone under. So even if you just get to here, that's fine. But if you can lower the pelvis, open up the chest, shine your breastbone forward, and then very gently back into shall we go. Fantastic. Okay, and if you just walk your hands toward your knees and come to the middle of your mat, we'll do a little bit of breathing, some big cleansing breaths. We'll just do it in a kneeling position. So sit nice and tall, shoulders back and down, and then take your arms up nice and high on an in-breath. Exhale. Lovely. And again, big deep breath. And down. And one more. Lovely. Fantastic. Give your shoulders a gentle roll. Well done. Well done, especially if you made it to the end of the workout, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. As always, thank you for leaving the video a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to the channel. Speaking of subscribers, I'd just like to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. I'm quite a small creator in relation to the others on YouTube, so I really appreciate your support. I'm really interested to know how far my little channel is reaching worldwide. So why don't you leave me a comment and let me know where you're watching from in the world. Thanks again, as always, for moving with me today, and I hope to see you again in the next one. Bye.